Vais pillando un poquito lo que dice, ¿no? Está buscando el horario de trading, esta es la sesión asiática, ha buscado la neutralización de liquidez de estos bajos iguales, estaba explicando aquí que esto podía ser una trampa para los smart money, ellos siempre hablan mucho trampas para los smart money, toma liquidez y la eficiencia está diciendo hasta el momento que está buscando una entrada al alza una vez neutraliza la liquidez, ¿no? Que de momento no hay señales para hacer entrada, ¿vale? Vamos a ver qué es lo que busca para hacer la entrada. Bueno, gente, pues también hoy vengo a traeros Wakar Asim. Yo de WWA Trading. Ya sabéis que es un canal que a mí me gusta bastante. Muchos de vosotros también lo seguís. Es un vídeo de unos 20 minutitos. Este sí que lo voy a pasar bastante rápido. Y normalmente vemos a Alex, ¿no? Alex, que suele hacer... Me gustó el vídeo de Alex, de WWA, en donde decía, bueno, aquí este trade, ya veis que tiene aquí 9-10 pips. Esto no se puede operar, es un stop demasiado grande, hay que buscar trades de alta probabilidad con stops muy pequeños. Este está bien, este tiene 3 pips de stop loss, este me encaja, vamos a operarlo y hacemos un ratio 1.40. Así de fácil, amigos, como diría el hombre de bricomanía, fácil y para toda la familia. Pues vamos a ver Wakar, que todavía no lo hemos analizado en este canal, y vamos a ver qué nos cuenta Wakar, cómo opera, y el vídeo en concreto se llama Stop Trading Higher Time Frames, es decir, para de hacer trading en time frames altos, ¿no? De hecho, yo soy el que hace trading en time frames altos. Yo lo hago en time frames altos. Y por aquí Wakar me dice que no, que seguramente me esté llamando un pony. Dice, Paul, si tú haces trading en high time frames, eres un auténtico pony. Pásate a ser un pura sangre como el Menda. Aquí ya me lo está diciendo. Deja de ser pony y pásate a ser un auténtico pura sangre. Así que vamos a poner el vídeo. Pongo subtítulos porque este sí que está en inglés. Y este se lo voy a poner mínimo 1,25, que si no se nos hará muy largo. Venga, ahí, vamos para allá, gente, un momentito, velocidad. Y vamos a ver qué nos cuenta. Estrategia, vamos a ir viéndolo, voy a ir parando y vamos a ir comentando, ¿vale? A ver qué nos parece.
Showing my entry, I'm showing my stop loss, I'm giving a full analysis and breakdown, and then I'm telling you when to break even, when to take partials, when to take full volume off the table. And I did that for a whole month. I gave 25 signals, and publicly we all profited 25% together. People have done signals here and there, but nobody's given every single...
A ver, de momento ha dicho que esto lo ha publicado en algún sitio. 25% en un mes. ¿Dónde está el canal de señales? Yo lo voy a buscar. Voy a ver lo que vale. Ojito, sabéis que yo soy de la Virgen del Puño. Y si es dentro de mis posibilidades, lo contrataremos. ¿Queréis que lo contrate o no? ¿Y os las paso o no? ¿Los paso ahí de Strangis? Sí, anda que no sabéis.
For a full month. So this trade not only is the last trade of that series, and it was a great way to end the year. What is more interesting for me is that we are in a higher time frame daily supply level. We are not in a bullish POI, and I still bought. And that's because even though we're in a higher time frame supply zone and all of those things, I know that the daily cycle variance, lower time frame, is more important with the correct context. Higher time frame is a general guide. It's like your training wheels when you're learning to ride a bike. You need your stabilizers so that you don't fall, but it's not the be all end all, and it's not the most important factor. There are certain things that are more important. So in this case study, we're going to go through the in-depth analysis of that position and also demonstrate the importance of how to navigate certain confluences that you have. When the higher time frame says bearish, lower time frame says bullish, what do we do then? So let's jump right in. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm on the H1 time frame and we can start to see on...
Bueno, de hecho, todo el equipo de WWA siempre habla de la alineación de la macro, la alineación macro con la micro, siempre, todos los vídeos, que tiene que estar alineado. Ahí sí que tengo que yo reconocer que están muy de acuerdo en todo. Vamos a ver el gráfico del eurodólar en una hora.
We have this high in the market that led to this aggressive push down. So we know that we have some form of supply. We have this order flow where we have this trend line consecutive mitigations. So I do know that once price has left that area, when price comes back to it, does become some form of liquidity. So that's something to bear in mind. And by the way, all of this price action is of December, and you can see all of the signals of how I was buying and selling all in these areas. But anyway, we can start to see we have this very nice trend line forming. All right, it's being respected very nicely. So I know that this will eventually all become liquidity once we have an inducement low to grab the liquidity high. So that's exactly what we had here. We had this low in the market, we had an inducement low, we had a push out, we had a mitigation, and then we grabbed all of that liquidity. We grabbed all of those sellers in that trend line area, grabbed all of that liquidity. Then we came to this extreme, this supplier area that led to that push down. Price started to get early sellers in. It invited them in. We can read it on a higher time frame. What did it do? It invited them in and then spiked higher to grab liquidity of the whole zone, including the high of the whole supply zone, the lower high that made the lower low. We came all the way to the high of that, took all of those stops out, and that was the final inducement. And then we have this push down. So what is price telling telling me? Price is telling me we've come to a supply area, we've done an inducement, and we're starting to have sellers in. We have all of this liquidity, you know, the highs, smart money traders getting in on that run of liquidity candle, and then price comes lower, takes out the smart money traders, smart money trap, and then we get an inducement of the whole supply zone to come lower. So everything is making sense for price to come bearish. Even if price is bullish, price goes from higher low to higher high, back down to a retracement to higher low to go make a higher high. So even if we are bullish, we expect price to be bearish for now. And that's what the higher time frame is telling me. If I come to the daily, for example, we can also see that price is in that wick. Okay, so we have this liquidity over here. Price did a run of liquidity there and had a huge push down. Price has now come back to that whole supply area. So let me actually draw it out very quickly. Is that supply area over here, and we have the liquidity right there. So if we can even see on a higher time frame, we have a run of liquidity. Price has taken all of that liquidity and we've come into that area. So right now, even the daily is confirming we should be going bearish for now. So now that I've read my higher time frame, I need to go to my M15. Let's turn on my indicator that I custom made for myself. We can start to see where are the relevant areas I can be looking. So for now, ignore all of the drawings from my previous trades, that's previous videos, but we can start to see we had price go from higher high, tapping into supply, retracing, higher low, and then goes on to make a higher high. That higher high is the one that took all of that liquidity of the whole POI. So we know that this is also an inducement. So we can say that the whole supply zone was taken out and we've come to that daily supply level. So we come to a daily supply level and we've done an inducement high. So now I'm starting to think, okay, well, if I am bearish, I've done an inducement, I'm in a supply zone, I need a break of structure here. Okay, so for it to be bearish, I would want to see something like this, and then I can start to look to sell on something like that. So that's what I'm waiting for. And then if I go really into intra-session time frame, I can start to read, well, when I come into my M5 time frame, my real intra-session intraday push, I can see that the main push is this. We have from this low, well, let's pull it out to this low, to this high, that is my main push, and it is bullish. So that is the main push that I'm framing myself for in an intra-session time frame. Now we look at the one area that led to the break of structure. This area led to a push out that has Asia low right above it, and then we have the extreme area, the low that led to the high. This is a certain demand area. So I know that these two areas in my pre-London analysis, I know that I have my zone that led to the push out right below Asia low liquidity, and then I have the origination point of that main push. So that's the two areas I marked out during my pre-London analysis, and then I came into that area and I started to mark out what exactly is going on. So obviously you see my markings, I'm not going to delete it, it's from the actual day, and I'll update it on Twitter exactly how I showed it. But I know that first pool of liquidity is Asia low. So we have my Asia low liquidity, and price is opening exactly on the minute of Frankfurt's open, which is interesting. The market is completely timed. Time is such an important factor. On Frankfurt open to the minute, price is doing an inducement of all of Asia low liquidity and this equal lows. So I know that I'm coming into this demand area that I liked. This demand area is a good one. Why? Because we took liquidity. I like demand areas that take an inducement like so. I find the imbalance within there.
Está en gráfico de un minuto el cabrón, ¿eh? En gráfico de un minuto, ¿eh?
The inefficiency, perfect, and I go to price action and say, has that been filled? Yes, we filled the inefficiency, we come to a demand area with timing, and we're doing an Asia low and equal low run of liquidity. Perfect stuff. We even have, if we really read into the details, we even have smart money equal lows right here. If we read it very carefully, we have a smart money run of liquidity right there. We have a smart money run of liquidity right there, and then we have a bullish break of structure right here. So early buyers are thinking, I've had a run of liquidity here and a push out, so therefore smart money traders are loading up on this candle. Smart money traders love those FU candles or run of liquidity candles, whatever we call it. That smart money trap is also presented. They even reaffirm it. So they say smart money traders jump in. They invite them to come in. They give another break of structure right here. So they're inviting early buyers. Okay, they're inviting early buyers, and what does that mean? That means we have formed a pool of liquidity of smart money traders and early buyers. Even we get a final reaction over here. Then what happens? Frankfurt open. We take all of those smart money traders and early buyers out with that inducement. Perfect. So we've had a meaningful inducement with timing into a demand area and taking a lot of liquidity. So now I'm really liking it. So now I'm starting to think, okay, there's potential validity in the zone, but I also don't know if this is an inducement high. We grab liquidity and then we're going lower. So I don't want to catch a falling knife. I'm not just going to jump into the market like that. So once I've seen that inducement, then I watch price action and say, okay, is there going to be a follow through? So I see price gives a strong reaction when 7 a.m. perfectly Frankfurt open, tell me the market is not timed. Okay, I've shown so many examples of the market being perfectly timed, meaningful inducements happening at meaningful moments of time, which is why I coded the indicator the way I have. And then what do we see? Price comes down and it doesn't give a follow through. It doesn't give a break of structure. In fact, what it's doing is respecting the last higher high, that made the lower low. Technically, it's a bearish move. So we have a bearish impulse that grabbed this liquidity over here. It respected this zone over here. It's a drop base drop zone. We respect the drop base drop zone. We have a minor inducement right here. And then we have that move leading to a low low. Price comes back with a sharp reaction and then respecting over here. So I can't buy. Okay, I can't buy. There's no break of structure. There's nothing. There's just a nice medium inducement, run of liquidity on time with a strong reaction, imbalance and so forth. But that's not enough to enter. So I wait. Ideally, I want a lower time frame entry model. For example,
vais pillando un poquito lo que dice, ¿no? Está buscando el horario de trading. Esta es en la sesión asiática. Ha buscado la neutralización de liquidez de estos bajos iguales. Estaba explicando aquí que esto podía ser una trampa para los smart money. Ellos siempre hablan mucho trampas para los smart money, toma liquidez, ineficiencia. Está diciendo hasta el momento que está buscando una entrada al alza una vez neutraliza la liquidez, ¿no? Que de momento no hay señales para hacer entrada, ¿vale? Vamos a ver qué es lo que busca para hacer la entrada.
A break of structure or something of that nature. Now, Before I carry on, what I do is I always compare my EU and GU. That's what I always do. That's why I trade EU and GU only, because I like to see them correlated. So I quickly flick over to my GU chart.
No me jodas que en un minuto te da tiempo a mirar esto, tío. A mí no me da tiempo.
And I'm watching. We have the same inducement over here. Okay, we have the same inducement on 7 a.m. Frankfurt Open. We get a strong push out on both. Then price retraces, and then we start to see this low over here is the equivalent of this low over here. So again, nothing. We just form a internal higher high, internal higher low, and push out. So we have an internal higher high, internal higher low, and a push out. So right now, EU and GU are mirroring. Okay, but then when I play a few more candles, okay, let me actually align both. So when I play a few more candles, I see price is still respecting that supply level. So I cannot enter a buy. We're still in a lower high supply area that's respecting. And now this area that I'm seeing as some form of demand, where I lock it into that imbalance right there, that is not a demand area. I cannot buy off it, but I'm just following the order flow. This area, this low that led to a push out, price has respected it with that wick, led to a push out, price is coming back to that area. Now, when I see price is coming back to that area, this is what I notice. At exactly 7:17 a.m. on this one, 7:17 a.m., I notice that price is coming lower on GU, on the correlated area. This one, that low is the equivalent of that low. Okay, so in this one, we can see that this, on EU, we can see that this low is being...
¿En serio en un minuto está buscando esta diferencia?
Respected. We are getting price respecting that low. But on GU, we're seeing that low, the same low that we have on EU, on GU is making a low. Okay, it's coming a bit lower. It's not respecting. So I need to play one more candle to get that confirmation of is that really what's going on. So I come to 7:18, and I start to see, yep, it's not respecting at all. It's really not respecting. It's coming a little bit lower. So we have some form of divergence. That's a confirmation type that I use. And even though we haven't had a BOS, this for me confirms that I can start to buy it. So then I enter that position and I see, okay, this is really giving a divergence here, where this is making a lower low, this is making a higher low. So therefore, I know that there's divergence between EU and GU. This one is respecting and doing a mitigation. This one is doing an inducement. So therefore, without the BOS, I can justify an entry over here. So I personally enter on that candle. And let's actually go to my trade Zeller and you can start to see exactly where I entered on that trade, where I have right here, we have the Asia low at London Open. So this is in Dubai time. Okay, but we can say on Frankfurt Open, 11 a.m. Dubai time, we have that inducement, we have that push out, internal higher low, and then I'm entering on that divergence candle at 19 past the hour. So I go back to here at 19 past the hour, which is right here, 7:19 a.m. I execute on that. I put my stop loss at the low. So I execute on that candle, 19 past the hour, stop loss at that low. Okay, so I enter that area on that candle, 19 past the hour. You can see exactly the price point when I go on executions. You can see that I executed 30 lots at 19 past the hour, and you can see exactly what price point I did it at. So I executed there. And then where did I go? At 1 to 3 risk reward as always. I take a partial. So that was on that candle right here, right there. So I got actually very lucky there. So I'll go through the analysis, but I had a re-entry which I gave as a signal on Twitter. So let's talk about that one. So I didn't actually give this one publicly to Twitter yet. This was a personal trade I was taking. I wanted the clear break of structure and wanted to await that one. So when I saw a price, then my execution is taken.
O sea que la entrada la he hecho por divergencias MT.
Price then gives me that bullish break of structure. Now I have the break of structure, the confirmation type that I needed. So now that supply zone is taken out. This is now a bullish break of structure. And now I have the Asia low and smart money trap liquidity. And then we have price tapping into a demand area, doing an inducement with time. And then we're having the EU-GU divergence. And then we have a bullish break of structure. Now that we have the bullish break of structure, I want to see if there's any position that I can give publicly, because I know that London Open is right around the corner and I'm seeing a strong reaction, which is perfect. So price comes back down and it's coming back down to this area. Okay, so then I start to watch GU and I start to say, okay, maybe I can give a public signal at 7:41. Let's actually play this a few more candles to 7:41. Okay, and this is where I get interested again, because the same thing as before, where we have this low in the market right here is the equivalent of this low. Okay, so I can see at this time at 7:41 a.m. UK time, I can see price is going to that imbalance and is respecting that zone that had that push out. So I'm seeing price that is doing a mitigation here, trading away from that inducement of the day, and is respecting that area. But GU is doing a divergence. And if I play just one more candle, we can start to see. So when I bring both EU and GU to 7:41, this is where I made the decision. 7:41 a.m. I can see price is not respecting that level. We have that divergence again. Price is going lower, is doing a run of liquidity in that red box. So GU is doing a divergence, EU is respecting both at 7:41. So then I go onto Twitter and I say, hey guys, I'm liking this position. So you can see I've given that trade and you can see my buy entry right there. You can see where the stop loss is. I'm giving that publicly, and then you can see exactly where price action is when I take that screenshot and everything. And you can see that, okay, I gave it a little bit after because I was just typing, I was preparing everything, I was managing my own trades. But you can start to see the analysis I was giving is we're getting these two divergences. You see the time 7:42. At 7:42 we are respecting this level, but on 7:42 on GU we are doing a divergence. So I give this position out to Twitter, and then I take a second entry right here at 7:41 as well. You can see where's Dubai time, so 4 hours ahead. We're seeing 11:41. I'm taking my second entry. So I took 30 lots buy on the first position right there. That was at 19 past the hour. And then after the break of structure, I give another signal at 11:41 Dubai time. So those are the two buy positions. I took both myself, as you can see, it's tracked here. And let me tell you why I took 10 lots instead of 30 lots is because if you come back to price action, you can start to see that when I took this position here at 19 past the hour, I wanted to reduce my stop loss to here, to this low where the divergence began. And the second entry, my invalidation zone was here. So even though my stop loss on the first position was at the low, my invalidation point become here. So I've reduced my stop loss from here to here. So my initial risk on the first position is reduced. So that reduced risk is now the new risk I enter on the second position. So that's how I manage it.
Esto está guay.
So my total exposure.
Esto lo que acabo de decir está muy bien. Corre el stop corre el stop, por lo tanto reduce el riesgo de una de las entradas, lo que le permite hacer otra reentrada. Claro, si tú habías entrado, por decir algo, tu posición entera son, yo qué sé, dos lotes, y tienes un stop de 10 pips y el precio vuelve a zona y tu zona de invalidación ha cambiado y lo puedes reducir a la mitad, significa que le puedes meter a la operación, a la otra operación, si ha reducido el riesgo a la mitad, puedes meterle otro lotecito a la otra.
Exposure to the market was still the same exposure I wanted, but I had reduced risk on one trade, and I reduced risk, and that would mean new lot size.
Que la exposición al mercado es la misma, como al reducir el stop, le puede meter otra posición, con lo cual va más cargado, pero con el mismo riesgo inicial. Está bien eso.
To enter again on the second position, and that's how I did it, and that's the positions I gave on Twitter. And then we can see on Twitter I'm posting about the first partial point getting very close. We have a break even or reduced risk at the new internal high, and then I just give follow-ups of, okay, 1 to 3 risk reward targets hit and so forth. Now the important thing to realize is I've disregarded my higher time frame. I knew we're in a supply zone, I know we got an inducement and all of these things, but I know that daily cycle and intra-session volatility and intra-session timing and trading away from the inducement for the intra-session volatility is super important. So let's focus on GU now alone. I can start to see that I want to at least replicate that push, and I'm seeing a higher high, internal higher low is being respected on that area, and therefore I know that we have this liquidity to target right here, the Asia liquidity that was built, and then potentially just taking out that area and making a higher high. So I know that I did have targets, and I did also know that my overall trend for previous days was bullish, so I knew that was in my favor too. Even though higher time frame was showing an inducement, smart money trap, and all of these things, that can all present later on, that can all still be valid. But my intra-session tendencies, I just need to know where the session is going to go. I don't really need to know where the next 2-3 days are going. That's my higher time frame, and I can frame myself accordingly, but it's not the be all and end all. Right now I'm focused on my London session, and I can see I'm minutes away from my London session, 8 a.m. London Open, and I know that I have this liquidity above waiting, so I'm just optimizing for that. I'm just optimizing for taking that liquidity, and I know that my 1 to 3 risk reward points where I take my first partial, it's a fixed partial system I always use. You've seen it on my previous videos. It's before Asia high, so I know that my next liquidity pool is Asia high, or it's at least mitigating that area. So I know that I can take at least a 1 to 3 risk reward on both of these positions.
El primer parcial entre sesiones, o sea, debajo de Asia y por encima de Asia. Por encima de Asia es su primer parcial. Yo también lo hago, por liquidez entre sesiones. Bueno, de hecho en el curso de Smart Money yo lo explicaba muy bien.
Take partials, so why not take that? And in case it goes higher, I have my final TP there. So then I just wait for my London session volatility to kick in, and then I wait and see what price does during my London session. So I can also see price does a minor inducement of that level, which is something I actually like to see. Price does a minor inducement of that area and then starts to climb higher. So I know that price could be ready to go and meet my first 1 to 3 risk reward partial area, and price hits the London session volatility. It comes back to that inducement candle, the area that took liquidity. So I know that that is a nice zone. We have a minor inducement of that level. We're trading away from the first inducement of the day that took our smart money traders and Asia low, tapped into demand. Then we have the divergence over here. Then we have a push out, break of structure. Price comes back to that level and it does a minor inducement. London session volume kicking in as we have the mitigation there. So I know that price can now shoot for my 1 to 3 risk reward, partial number 1, which you can see right here, 1 to 3 risk reward before my Asia high. And I'm going to take volume at the same point on both of my trades, 1 to 3 risk reward. That'll be my first partial point. London session has now kicked in. We are active, and then the volume kicks in and break even. And I post that on Twitter. So I say over here, guys, break even. 1 to 3 risk reward partial point is approaching very quickly. And then I just wait a little bit longer. Boom. 1 to 3 risk reward area smashed. So I take my partials over there, and then price starts to shoot back down. So I've already given all of that. I've given that update. It says, okay, price is shot. It's hit my 1 to 3 partial point. And now live trade given. 1 to 3 risk reward target 1 hit. 1.5 are locked in, banked, all of that good stuff. And then overall 24 signals given this month, 2 losses in total, and over 21% gain. And then I just see how the rest of this position plays. So right now, I'm not panicking because I've taken a partial. I'm risk free, but I just want to watch what's going on. So I just read it and I say, okay, price is doing a inducement of that level. Perfect. It's coming back to this initial demand. So I'm not panicking because this is normal price action. Price is going to go to that candle that did an inducement, push out, make a high, come back to that level and respect it. So I know price should not go lower than here. So I'm actually not panicking. Everything is fine, making sense. And then price continues higher. And then what does it do? It does a final inducement over here. We grab all of that liquidity. Price goes for that liquidity, does an inducement of that. I'm just going to delete this just so it's easier for you guys to read, but you know that I had that position there also. And then we get that inducement that leads to the fuel higher. So we've already taken our first partial, and then I want to see price now, it goes and takes Asia high. So I want to see how it's going to react after taking my Asia high liquidity. And it's also previous day's high liquidity. The high.
En teoría la ha sacado, ¿no? ¿No estaba en break even?
Previous day. So I want to see if we're going to get a sharp reaction off that area. Okay, so we are getting a strong reaction, but we can start to see price is actually respecting that inducement area. So price came back to the area that did the inducement and is tapping into that level. So we can start to see price is very organized. We have the inducement of the day, smart money trap in Asia low, tapping into demand, push out. Then price comes back down, does another inducement here. So we can just count the inducements. We have inducement number 1, inducement number 2, inducement number 3. So we know that the inducements are going low to then push higher. So the inducement that leads to a push out, a break of structure. Inducement that leads to a push out and break of structure. Inducement that leads to a push out and break of structure. This is how the market always operates. I've told you this this in every single case study. We have build up, inducement, follow through, build up, inducement, follow through, build up, inducement, follow through. That is showing us who's in control.
Qué cabrón el precio, ¿sí o no? Los inducement y arriba.
So yes, we have our higher time frame analysis, but these things are more important. They're linked to time, they're linked to intra-session liquidity, inducement, and all of these things. And we can see that price is mitigating demand areas. So everything is following through and making sense. So now I know that even though I've taken Asia high liquidity, the buyers are still in control, so I can continue to hold my position. So when I come into TradeZella, you can see that at this point, at the 1 to 3 risk reward, I took my partial over here. Over here, I took 15 lots off my initial position. So that 30 lot position, I took 15 lots off that position. And then the second position of 10 lots, I took 5 lots over here. So my 2 profits locked in. You can see on the screen, it was 15 lots and 5 lots. So I took 20 lots in total profit of my partials. That locked in $2,000 and $660. And then I just hold on the rest of my volume for the rest of the day to see if I can now go and target my 1 to 10 risk reward points. And that's exactly what I was waiting for, to see if price can get there. So I just allow price to continue. There's no action to take, and price is nicely climbing higher. So I just wait, and there we go. So price now shoots out, hits my TP level. So then I go ahead and take my partial at that point, which is right there. So on that candle, 1 to 10 risk reward, and actually price reversed right after. So that was pretty useful. So you can see over here, I took my partial. This is at 427. Yeah, exactly. 427. I took 5 lots off the table, and that locked in 1.7k. That 15 lots that was running, I didn't take a partial there because that had a slightly wider stop loss, and therefore I didn't reach my 1 to 10 point just yet. So that 15 lots was still running, and unfortunately, if you see, it came all the way back down to break even. So that's sometimes just part of the game, where I entered over here and I exited over here, so I only got $100 profit, just basically covered my commissions. So that's a shame that second position did come back to break even, but at least my first position, so basically that position that I took there at 19 past the hour, that hit my 1 to 3 target, and I took a partial there, but it didn't hit my 1 to 10. My 1 to 10 target was slightly higher on that trade, so that one reversed to break even. But position 2 that I gave publicly, that one hit my 1 to 3, and it also hit my 1 to 10, so it hit both of the partial points. And when I come back onto Twitter, I give the full updates. So actually on TradeZella, you can see I've linked 2 accounts, which is why on the screenshot on MetaTrader, you don't see both positions. I was actually just trading on 2 different accounts. But yeah, you can start to see the full tracking of that. So I'm saying, look, this rising, and then this is the tweet you're saying, full target, public signal given live, 1 to 10 TP, great way to close out the year. 24 signals, 2 losses, and over 25% banked publicly, including this position. So 1 to 3 risk reward, we banked 1.5R, and then at the 1 to 10 mark, we banked 5R, so that becomes 6.5R. So that we add that to the tally. ROI versus risk reward obviously being different, and then my TradeZella stats, you can kind of see the whole thing, the whole position, how it was managed and tracked. So there, that was one of the positions.
Pues está guay, ¿no? Lo ha explicado bastante bien.
But you can see it's all tracked here. And again, in general, TradeZella is a very useful tool. I use it all the time. I think.
A ver. Trade rating. Te la ha puesto 2 estrellas y media, mal rate.
It's an essential for any trader to be utilizing it. If you take trading seriously, you need to track your trades, you need to track your broker statements, and you need to have reports and playbooks and all of these things. So that's all there for you to see. And that is the final trade case study. So you can start to see that.
Oye, ¿qué plataforma es esta, tío? ¿La habéis visto? Gracias por ese sub, Trading Guy. Lo he leído bien, ¿no? Trading Guy, sí. Pues, ahora me he distraído. Tracking, se llama Tradecella. ¿Alguien conoce Tradecella? Oye, voy a investigar esto de Tradecella. No sé cómo funciona. Tiene buena pinta, ¿no? Tradecella. Está guay, ¿no? ¿Alguien lo utiliza? Que alguien me comente qué es esto.
And you need to have reports and high time frame supply zone, that lower high that made a lower low, higher time frame is telling us sell, okay? But when we read M1, we start saying, no, M1 is showing us sellers are not in control, the sellers are not ready yet. So instead we follow the market laws. We read inducements, we read build-ups, we read liquidity pools, we read targets and displacement, and all of these characteristics. These are the things we should be focusing on, even if the higher time frame is against us, because when the higher time frame play is ready to be bearish, M1 is going to show us, and M1 will be ready. We will read that and we'll catch that move too. So ladies and gents, I do hope that trade opened your eyes up a little bit to show you that yes, the high time frame is important for foundations, but it's not the most important thing. Mastering M1 and understanding intra-session tendencies, understanding the nature and the law of M1 price action is far more important to understand intra-session volatility, daily cycle variance, inducements and build-ups, and the language and law of price. That's going to be a priority over our higher time frame, and that's why you can see that I took that trade myself. You saw the MT4 screenshots, you've seen my TradeZella reports, you can see I verified the trade there, and also I gave it publicly ahead of time because I know that these kind of trades are very probable. I can be very confident in these positions, and when you start to master M1 price action, you will have the same level of confidence. So guys, if you enjoyed that video, make sure you go ahead and follow me on Twitter, because on Twitter I'm going to be doing a lot more of these public signals, case studies, and breakdowns day to day. It's a lot more easier to just type it and throw it on Twitter than it is for me to make a YouTube video like today. So if you want to see my day-to-day action and trades and all of these things, go ahead and follow me there. And lastly, if you do want to work more closely with me, me, find the link somewhere in the bio, and there you can fill out an application form and have a growth planning session with my team. I only take on 1% of applications. A lot of you maybe think I'm making that up or something, but I have had thousands of applications, but I have no desire to have a 1,000 person Discord. I think it's ineffective and I don't enjoy that. I'd rather work with a few people closely. Therefore, I only want to work with the best of the best, people that are willing to invest in themselves, people that are willing to listen to everything I guide them on and take this journey seriously. So if you are interested in working more closely with me, go ahead and make an application and maybe I'll...
¿Os ha gustado qué el vídeo de Wakar? Vamos a suscribirnos, ¿no? ¿O qué? Vamos a poner nuestro Awesom. La verdad que muy buen vídeo, muy bien explicado el trade, me ha gustado. Liquidez entre sesiones, a ver qué tiene por aquí. Private, Waka Trading Wufo, no sé qué, My Personal Indicator. ¿Qué es esto? A ver. Session Trading. Es un indicador. Ahí, listo para pagar. 50 pavos el indicador. Casi nada. Y a ver qué más tiene por aquí. Aplicación. Apply to work for me. Esto para trabajar conmigo. Consultation form. De consulta. This one. Vale. Instagram surname, your mail. What is your name? Gufo. Vale, esto es para acceder. Y private, no sé qué. O sea, ¿y dónde está el canal de señales? ¿Qué dice este? Wakar así un filtred. 241 seguidores. Don't follow if you are fake account or guru. Bueno, está bien. Canal de Wakar. Bien explicado un trade. Estaría guay. ¿Qué dice por aquí la gente? Tiene bastantes comentarios, Tiene bastantes comentarios. Está guay, muy bien. Bueno, gente, ¿qué os ha parecido el trade de Wakar? Wakar de WWA, alineación de time frames, ineficiencias, inducements, ¿no? Son los creadores del lead, ¿no? ¿Cómo era? Liquidity Inducement Theorem, ¿no? O algo así, ¿no? Bueno, es un smart money muy refinado. Como veis, utiliza stops muy pequeñitos, tiene gestión de riesgo, incluso hace, ¿cómo se llama? Contrapartidas, compras y ventas para operaciones mayores y menores. La verdad que los vídeos que yo he ido viendo ya sabéis que a mí me gusta bastante. Los veo sobre todo que trabajan muchísimo la estructura. Los veo bastante realistas en cuanto a acción del precio. No hablan de instituciones ni nada, simplemente hablan de la acción del precio. Y la verdad que a mí personalmente me gusta bastante. Si alguien ha hecho el curso con ellos, no he hecho el curso pagado. El que había filtrado por ahí yo sí que lo hice, que es una masterclass de 5 horas, había otro de 10 horas, una cosa así. Yo hice estos dos que se filtraron por ahí y la verdad que están guays, molan bastante. Yo la verdad que no lo he podido comprobar en la efectividad suya en vivo. Sí que de hecho me han escrito un par de personas que me han dicho que en vivo son iguales, del mismo rollo. La verdad que molaría bastante aprender muy bien de ellos. Si alguien de verdad, sin ser fantasmada, ¿vale? Sin buscar la fantasmada, de verdad está en vivo con ellos y esto es lo que hay, por favor que me escriba, que oye, siempre está guay aprender de gente buena. Bueno, gente, lo vamos a dejar aquí. Ya llevamos una horita de conexión. Espero que os haya gustado la tarde. Hemos visto un poquito de todo, un poquito de True Forex Phones, un poquito un canal de Instagram y un poquito de estrategia, que hacía tiempo que no veíamos vídeos de Smart Money y la verdad que WWA no defrauda. Espero que os haya gustado, como siempre. Dejadme un buen like, suscribiros y nos vemos la próxima semana, más o menos la misma hora. Esta hora 6-7 hora de España. Nos vemos y feliz tren a todos. Besitos. Chao.
Quiero ser un fome, no más de prados y pastizales. Quiero ser un caballo de pura sangre y elegante. Correr sin límites en el mundo financiero. Invertir en trading, ganando dinero verdadero.